Beloved heart, before we begin, I have a special gift for you. If you've been feeling the intensity of Earth's rising plasma light codes and want to stay centered in your body and heart and energy field, I've created a free light language quantum grounding activation just for you. This transmission will help you stabilize, integrate, and align with the new frequencies flowing onto the planet. Simply join my mailing list. See the link that's in the show notes to receive instant access. Let's ground into the light together.
This is the transfiguration of the new you. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to my episode. I'm Monica Bermudez. I'm your podcast host for this podcast, Ascended Earth. And we have a special guest here, Wil Carlos. We're going to be talking about why highly sensitive, are hiding. Is it really safe to be seen? So a lot of topics on this about visibility. A lot of it seems to be coming up a lot more. We'll explore why, your awakening gifts doesn't automatically make visibility feel like safe and why awakening and visibility are often very different initiation. So many sensitive healers carry survival-based patterns that quietly register being seen as unsafe, sometimes even before anything external happens. And I know for a fact that, for myself, when I first started doing like videos in public, it was one of the hardest things for me to be seen, to be visible, even though that's the nudge that I was getting from my guys to be more on video, be more in public. And I was actually more comfortable just being private and just staying behind the scenes. But there is a nudge, that you'll feel as a highly sensitive, but it is also at the same time a bit uncomfortable. So we have here someone, my special guest, Wil Carlos, who will share Safe to be Seen, which is actually his expertise in this field, as he will share some more information for us and we'll have, this really deep conversation. And a brief introduction of Wil is that he is a clairaudient healer who became low-key obsessed with one question. Why do so many gifted healers, therapists, and coaches struggle to get paid what they're worth? And so, after working with 1,000 practitioners across 29 countries since 2017, he found the answer. And it's not your strategy, it's the imposter complex keeping you small. And so, what, Wil, he calls this helper's paradox. It's an overgiving pattern that feels like integrity but quietly starves your business. So, how many of you resonate with this? So I want to welcome you, Wil, to this episode, and I'm so looking forward to having this conversation with you. And just to kind of kick off, our conversation, let's get to know you a little more. Like, what led you into all of this? What got you into like doing this kind of business?
Yeah, and thanks for having me on the show. I'm excited to be here and share a little bit about it and hopefully help some of the healers that are listening to the show or watching the show on YouTube, help them even during the episode to shift a little bit in their willingness to be seen and how safe they feel to be seen. Because it sucks when you have a gift that you really want to give to the world and you really want to be out there and doing this amazing work and getting paid a healthy amount. Not that you have to be paid huge buckets of cash, but you want to be paid a healthy amount so that you can continue and grow and develop and have a sustainable business or practice. So it sucks when you have all that to give and you want to do it and something's blocking you. And so that's how I came around to this expertise. And as most of us healers do, we end up helping others with the very thing that we struggle with ourselves. So when I started my healing practice, I wasn't getting enough clients and I wasn't visible in ways that felt good. It was draining. I didn't like doing the kind of things that I was told I should do to be more visible and put myself out there. And so going on that journey, both on the practical business side to find out what strategies do actually work and are fun and enjoyable, but even more importantly, and first, is what are the beliefs that I hold? What are the energetic patterns that I have that keep me stuck? And so that's how I came around to this area as an area of expertise and the imposter complex, as you mentioned. I hope we get into the helper's paradox because that's kind of my favorite thing to talk about. And the backstory is I was an actor first, and then through all that realized, oh, I have these spiritual gifts, and maybe I should like bring those into the world as well. So I
Nice.
shifted, long story short, from theater into entrepreneurship and into a healing practice.
Oh, very nice. So how did you discover your clairaudience? Did you always know, or did you just like one day say, "Oh, this is my clairaudience side"? Like,
uh, yeah, I just woke up one day and no, it was a process, and it wasn't until it was one of those moments, looking back as we often do. And I moved here to Nova Scotia, Canada, where we now live, and we've been here for about 9 years. And it was about 7 years ago or 6 years ago, I was speaking with a new friend, and he was in theater, and he said, "Oh, you were in theater. I thought you did all this other stuff." But I said, "No, my whole life I was in theater. I was in 4 or 5 shows a year until the age of 22 when I went to theater school to study to become a professional actor at the University of British Columbia. I was really on that track, and then I shifted. And as he and I were talking, and I was sharing with him a little bit more about my background in theater, I shared about these experiences that I now at that time in my life realized were clairaudience, where I would be on stage and I'd be with my fellow actor and I would just hear something, or I would get this intuitive nudge of the right thing to say or
Mm,
the right thing to do,
yeah.
uh, and and realized that all of that laid the groundwork for years later being able to listen to clients in a way that was not only intuitive, although sometimes it is just intuitive, but clairaudience, where I'll be, one of my favorite examples is I was doing a free session with a client, it was about 5 years ago now, and we're in the middle of the session, and I say, I can't, I'm sorry, pause the whole session because I there's this song that's stuck in my head and I don't know why, because I don't even particularly like Michael Jackson, but maybe it's for you. I don't know. And so I started to sing the "You Are Not Alone, I Am Here with," and she said, "Holy sh!" Oh, sorry. Can I swear on this podcast? I don't know.
Of course you can, yeah.
Okay. She said, "Holy shit! How did you?" That is my theme song. I listen to that song 4 or 5 times a day just to make it through the day. How did you know?
Wow.
And I said, I don't know how it just came into my head. And it
Yeah,
doesn't happen with every client, certainly not. It's not like a party trick that I can turn on. But it is definitely there, and it is there in my life a lot.
yeah. Wow, that's a really amazing story. And it's interesting. I've noticed, I think with actors and actresses, there's a lot of, creativity that goes into it, which has connections, to like the intuitive side of us. So I feel like many of the actors and actresses are really channeling, in a way. So channeling for me is like another aspect of intuition, and so are all the clairs. So yeah, I can see that, the blending of the two worlds, somehow coming, into this whole other perception realization. But I just wanted to share that because that's really cool, transition into like
Hmm.
stepping in more into your clairaudient as a healer. Um,
Yeah.
and for those, who are listening, who is wondering, I assume, most of my audience already knows what all the clairs are, because there are like several clairs, there's the clair for like the claircognizant of all knowing, just get information, random wisdom of information that, comes from, I would like to say future self, or just, other, aspects of self from past lives that may have gained wisdom. But the clairaudience is more like hearing, certain sounds and stuff, and clairvoyance is seeing beyond the sight of physical sight. Um, and the what was the other one? Clairsentient is really sensing from your
Hmm.
body and knowing that that is, and I like to attribute it more to the heart in that way.
Hmm.
It's interesting though you sharing about the clairaudience because I woken up hearing songs in my head, and so I always
Hmm.
know like this is the way like most of my guys, I call them the Council of Archangels. That's how they communicate with me is through music. And
Hmm.
so they'll sing a song in my head. I wake up with this song, and so that is like an intuitive nudge for me, of information. But what would you say though to people who are listening to this? Maybe they're listening to it for the first time and they're waking up to their gifts, and what would you suggest
Yeah.
to them?
Yeah. I'm of the belief that we all have intuition. Everybody on the planet has intuition. And then intuition gets channeled in unique ways. And some of us channel that intuition. It could be clairaudience, clairsentience, one of those. It could be through a direct gift. One of the first courses I ever took was called Discover Your Sacred Gifts. And there's the gift of hospitality. There's the gift of
Mm,
administration. There's the gift of, and then there's other ones that we more easily recognize, like music or
hmm
craftsmanship or things like that. So I think that that intuition comes through all of us and it channels in different ways. And sometimes in our spiritual circles, where we're all super woo-woo, out to lunch, whatever you want to call us, sometimes we place too much emphasis on things like clairaudience and clairsentience, and we downgrade the other gifts. For example, a mechanic. It's a beautiful thing when you take your car to a mechanic and they have this deep intuition about mechanics. Is it clairaudience, clairsentient? I don't know which if it's any of those, but they have a clear knowing and it's beautiful to watch how they
hmm
work with cars.
Yeah.
So I share all that to demystify it a little bit that
hmm
it's it's both. There's nothing special about clairaudience or clairsentience, and there's everything special about clairaudience and clairsentience. So for people that are just waking up to their gifts, I always like to say it's sacred, but it's not significant. And one of the things that slowed me down in my journey the most, especially in the early years, was being too significant. Things like, oh, I'm a healer and I'm here to save the world and all that kind of stuff, which really I found out was just me being full of myself. And it
Yeah.
was just like when I was an actor. When actors are really significant and it's all about them, we get really bored really fast. We don't want to
hmm
watch those actors and actresses. We want to
Yeah.
watch the ones that are really in touch with their partner, that are really listening, that are so cued into the moment that they're and Robin Williams is a great example. And when you talk about how it
I
shows up
love Robin
in
Williams.
actors,
Yeah.
yeah, he was listening. He was listening so deeply to his fellow actors, to the universe, that things would come in the moment that were so hilarious
I
that
believe
people
it.
couldn't stop laughing, and it would derail productions of movies because he made people laugh so much. So it's both deeply mystical and special, and it's no big deal. It happens every day. Don't make a big deal out of it. So that's one of the first things I share with people that are just waking up to these kinds of gifts.
Yeah, so I call that being spiritual ego.
Yeah,
Nobody is
yeah.
superior to anybody else. And you're right, spot on. Everybody has these intuitive gifts. Everybody has all the clairs. It's just that some will be a little stronger than others, but doesn't mean that the other ones won't develop. They will eventually. And what's happening right now is so many people are like spontaneously like combusting into their talents and gifts and rediscovering, something that they've always been. So awakening is what I call remembrance pretty much,
Mm.
so it's really embedded in our soul in who we are as, the true human that I call new human, but is really just coming back to our original divine roots in our soul. But yeah, so that's something to keep check on is the spiritual ego to what Will just shared. Don't be full of yourself, just because you have these gifts, because it's really all of us, and it is a divine superpower, yes, for sure, and it's there for all of us to share and collaborate as well, amongst the world. Um, so when you first, started coming out into this whole clear audience as a healer, did you say now it's safe for me to be seen?
Well, it's been a fascinating journey these last almost 8 years, I guess. Almost. So my business as a healer started the year my daughter was born, 2017, which makes it easy to remember, thankfully. I was a coach for many years before that, but didn't have a lot of success with that. But I was in the world of healing and coaching, but I didn't start my energy healing practice until then. So that's now about 9 years ago, 8 or 9 years. And hmm, where to start? Being an actor in a past life, I thought, well, yeah, I have no problem being seen. I love being seen. I love being
Yeah.
on stage. I love being the center of attention, all that kind of stuff. Completely different when it's your own business or practice when you're either on social media, and so it's just you and the camera,
Yeah.
or you're doing your own workshop and you're wondering, is this really good enough? Because as an actor, or when you're doing someone else's business or whatever it is, there's always something to hide behind. Because as an actor, there's a script that you didn't write.
Oh, okay.
There's a whole production happening that you didn't, you're part of it, but there's a whole team around it. And you're playing a character. But when all of that's gone and it's just you talking, it is initially terrifying. So
Yeah, I know
it
the
was very,
feeling.
yeah, it was
Yeah.
very challenging. And so I came up with, and for a long time, I would listen to every time I would do a podcast or put on a workshop or even have a client session, there was an audio clip that I would listen to. It was an interview from Bruce Lee. And I love
I
Bruce
love
Lee.
Bruce Lee. Yeah, he's my
Yeah,
favorite.
yeah, his energy has been the inspiration for a lot of my work and my energy in the world and who I
Mm,
am with my clients.
I love
And
that.
it's part of what I bring to my clients and what I help them to get to, because to be safe to be seen, to feel safe to be seen, I believe is not as much, it is about clearing up and healing trauma. It is about all those things. It is about shifting beliefs. It's
Hmm.
all that's important. However, I believe that the most important part is honestly expressing yourself.
Hmm.
Because when we honestly express ourselves and someone comes at us or doesn't like what we say or disagrees with what we say, our ability to stay whatever you want to call it, grounded, centered, rooted, in your true self. There's a
Hmm.
million expressions for it, but our
Hmm.
ability to do that goes up just exponentially. Because if you're really speaking honestly, what's someone gonna, if you say, I love yellow, the color yellow, someone says, that's ridiculous, that's a stupid color, and they get angry with you. Well, you'd say, well, that's fine. You don't have to like yellow. I don't, that's okay. I'll like yellow. You can like
Yeah.
whatever color you like. Same thing when you come out in your business and you say, I don't know, all of your traumas are rooted in a past life. Someone says, if that's someone's belief and that's how they operate in their business, and then someone gets all pissed off at you, it's like, well, you don't have to work with
Hmm.
me. I don't care. It's fine. Go work with someone else. Go do so. I don't, it's fine. It's no big deal.
Hmm.
But you only get there when you're honestly expressing yourself.
Yeah. And it's through the expression of the heart, speaking from your heart and your own authenticity of your soul. And that's, where I found like, and it's also like really based on your own personal experience too, what you've experienced,
Mm,
right? Somebody
yeah.
else may come at you and be like, well, I don't agree with that, well, then that's your experience. If you haven't experienced it, you don't believe in it, then, that's really where your own foundations and roots, just emphasizing what you just shared, because it's really about the foundations of how you established. For me personally, my own personal experience was really about the self-love foundation because I had to like really clear up a lot of my own trauma from not just this lifetime, but things that I remember from my past lifetime. It wasn't like a belief, it was just a knowingness that I know that I've been like, you know, killed in my past lives for speaking in public and being, more of this like witchy type, person. And so a lot of that I had to clear from my visibility and being, that was my stage fright, extreme
Mm,
stage fright of being like visible, getting out in public and talking about all the Claires, and I didn't feel safe, sharing about who I really was authentically in a public view, even though in private I was okay sharing with a few people I felt comfortable sharing with, you know,
mm,
and so yeah, so it's very similar, in that way that as you were trying to like come out and talk about your clairaudient healing, energy healing, it just felt like it didn't feel safe because there was just something there that, um, as you shared your experience. So, but tell
yeah.
me like how you, uh, more about this imposter complex, um,
Yeah.
let's dive more into it.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, a- and it's a perfect bridge because I had a thing on my mind and now you're taking us there because there's one part of visibility or feeling safe to be seen that is you expressing yourself and being able to express with and around other people, small or larger groups. But there's a whole other part to it that comes afterwards, which is, are people actually showing up? Like, are you creating some form of an audience? And it could be small or medium, doesn't have to be a big jet. And I don't think that we all need to have thousands of followers. I'm a big fan of the idea that 100 solid fans,
Mm-hmm.
you've got a business. Like, you don't need, like, you're looking for 100, really. So get out of the
Agreed.
mindset
Yeah.
of need to be on giant podcasts and write books that get top bill. Like, you don't need that. You need 100 fans, really. And then you've got a 10 solid fans. You've got actually a decent business these days. So, but to be able to get to those 10 or 100 or 1,000, it's a whole other level. So on the one level, we can feel safe to express ourselves. We feel good about expressing ourselves. But if you're expressing yourself and you're sharing your message for a period of time, whatever that is, 6 months, a year, 2 years, and you're not getting clients or you're not having people show up,
Mm-hmm.
you still actually don't feel safe to be seen
Mm-hmm.
because your reality is showing you, this is my view of things, your
Mm-hmm.
reality is showing you the beliefs that you hold. Your belief at that point is, I'll get attacked. People won't like me.
Mm-hmm.
Something terrible will happen. My family will disown me. Basically something bad will happen. And it's unique for everyone. There's
Yeah.
themes and there's flavors that I've seen come up in all my client sessions, but
Mm-hmm.
it is unique to every person. So I like to share that with everyone as we move into the imposter complex, because
Mm-hmm.
I have a model around it called the 8 pillars of the imposter complex. And as you
Mm-hmm.
work through all 8 pillars,
Mm-hmm.
you clear and you shift a lot of these beliefs that get in the way, and then clients start to show up, and then you feel safe to be seen at a bigger level, and then you expand and you grow. And so that's
Mm-hmm.
my model. And I only developed it after working with my first 200 clients or so. Because before that, I used to try to figure things out sitting on my meditation cushion. I go, oh, yeah, I'm going to figure out my niche this weekend. My ideal
Yeah.
client. I'm going to figure that out this weekend. I'm going to sit on this cushion. I'm going to think about it. I'm going to figure it. I'm going to do these workbooks and I'm going to figure it out. And then I got really sick of that. And I decided to stop trying to figure out my niche or any of my expertise or any. I said, I'm just going to
Mm-hmm.
work with people. So I just worked with people and I started offering free sessions. And after my first 100 and then my second 100, so after 200, then I looked at, well, who's actually showing up and what are their common problems that they're having? And
Mm-hmm.
how can I best help those people? And it was through doing that practice that I came up with these 8 pillars of the imposter complex and
Nice.
then refined them and then started implementing them with the next batch of clients that showed up and seeing the results. So um, that's why I love it, because it came out of actual lived experience. It didn't come out of how all of my previous creations came, which was, I have a great idea. People need this. And then I'd build the thing and turns out, oh, no one actually wants this thing that I think is so amazing. Instead, it was, what do people actually need? What are people coming to me for? What are their actual challenges? And then how can I meet that need and support
Mm.
them?
And is there, can you share the 8 pillars
Yeah,
here?
yeah, for sure. So the first one is procrastination,
Right?
followed by, and I hope I get all 8 of them. I talk about them all the time, but there's 8, so stick in my brain. Procrastination, overwhelm. So when we start procrastinating, not approaching that podcast we want to be on, or not following up with that person we met who might want to have a session, you start to procrastinate a little bit. And then you feel overwhelmed because you've got this list of all these things that you should be doing. And that list of things, there's so many things, and oh, my life and my personal life and and the car just broke down, and oh, now I'm overwhelmed. So you procrastinate, which leads to overwhelm because there's just too much going on. It doesn't take very long in overwhelm for you to feel kind of like a piece of crap about yourself, because now you see this list of all these things you're not getting done. And that's when the inner critic kicks in and starts kicking your
Mm-hmm.
butt. So that's the third pillar, is the inner critic.
Mm-hmm.
And doesn't take very long of the inner critic kicking your ass and you see your long to-do list that you're not quite getting done and all the things you're procrastinating on, until you start to feel a little bit like a fraud. Like, well, if I really believed in myself, then I would have already reached out to that podcast. If I really knew I was a good healer, coach, therapist, I would have already followed up with that. So I must not believe in myself. And now you're in pillar number 4, you're feeling like a fraud. And
Is that
again,
like the
hanging.
imposter syndrome? Like,
Well, that's why I break down the imposter syndrome. I prefer imposter complex as the term.
okay.
And I break it down into these 8 parts because I found it really unhelpful
Oh, interesting.
many years ago when I would bring this up with coaches or with my healers, and they'd say things like, "Well, you just have to believe in yourself," or "It's just the imposter complex. You feel like an imposter." And I'd say,
Mm,
"But what do you do with that? Like, I can't. There's nothing I can do about that. It's the
yeah,
same as oh, don't take it personally. It's like, what is I don't
yeah.
that's useless. I can't. There's nothing I
You
can
want
do with
something
that."
concrete and practical, which is what your eight
Exactly.
pillars are.
Exactly. And that's,
Hmm.
I'm not sure if you're familiar with human design at all, or have you talked about it
Yeah.
on? Yeah. So I'm a 5-1, and for me as a 5-1, a huge part of what I'm here to do is make things really concrete and actionable and to
Hmm.
test it out in the world and see if it actually works. Does the idea hold water? And if it does, then I bring it out into the world after a lot of investigation and trying it out myself and with my clients.
So what is 5-1? Because I only know like the basics, that projector, like manifestor,
Oh, so there's
generator.
manifest. So I'm a manifesting generator, and then
Okay.
5-1 is my are my profile lines. So it's the heretic is the 5, and then the 1 is the investigator. And so
Mm,
part of my path is that I investigate, like I did with working with 1,000 clients in 29 countries, and especially those first 100, 200 clients. I do the
hmm.
investigation. I
Interesting.
look at the common patterns, the common threads. Then I do an experiment to see, does this actually work? Is it legit? Does it really work? So that was the next 500 clients go, oh wow, this really works. This is a very solid model
So
that and
cool.
people really need this. So that's
Hmm.
part of the 5-1.
Hmm.
And I'm a novice on human design. I don't if someone said, "Oh, I'm a 4-6 projector," I don't know what that means.
Yeah, I just know the title, like either projector, manifestor, generator, just the
Yeah.
basics, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. So we left off at feeling like a fraud. So feeling like a fraud is actually the easiest one of them all, in my view, to solve because there's specific things you can do, and it's one of the only ones that for me, I never feel that one anymore. It just doesn't come up anymore. I did the work, it's done. I still procrastinate. I still get overwhelmed sometimes. So it doesn't mean that once you do the work on one of these that it's gone and you're never going to see it again, but the intensity goes down dramatically and the
Yeah.
amount of time that you struggle with it goes down dramatically. So there's hope. It doesn't mean that you're forever plagued by the imposter complex, but it does mean it's like a spiral. You spiral in or rather up and up and up and up, and things get better and better.
Beloved, if you're craving deeper connection, intuitive expansion, and consistent energetic support, join me inside the Frequency Resonance Lounge. This is a monthly Master Heart Circle, moon ceremonies that includes the full and new moon, and a private community for connections. Link is in the show notes.
So maybe as you're moving to like next different levels of your healing, right? So I always think that healers are always going through a creative renovation sometimes,
Hmm.
their
Yeah.
business. And so maybe they'll get into those eight pillars again, right? Sometimes, or some aspect of that. Would you think so?
Yeah.
Or have you noticed that in some of your?
Very much. Yeah, I mean, like I say, I don't spend too much time in too many of these 8 pillars anymore, but I just recognized it was 2 days ago. I have the notes still on my computer. Um, I was getting overwhelmed because I've been procrastinating on some things, and my inner critic kicked in and
Hmm.
was starting to say some really mean things like, "Well, you've had a whole hour and you've only got this and this done." And it took me, I don't know, about 20 minutes to catch it and go,
Yeah.
"Oh, whoa, wait, hold on, hold the phone." Will, you're expecting that in 1 hour you're going to plan your whole day, look at your entire list, know the exact perfect action to take, execute on that action. And I had this giant list that I thought that I expected that I should do. And I had to recognize, Will, not only
Hmm.
are you tired, not only is it first thing in the morning, not only are there all these other
Yeah.
pressures, but that's ridiculous for 1 hour. You can't do all that. So maybe breathe, it's okay. Set the timer for 20 minutes, pick one thing, do that thing, and forget the
Hmm.
rest. That's what I did.
Yeah.
But I could only do all that because I've already done, sorry, I believe I could only do all that because I'd already done the belief shifting, the energy clearing work that I've done in years previous. Because
Hmm.
instead of it being about all the years of failure or last week's failures or these heavy energies of the sh things that I should have done and all the
Mm-hmm.
things that I should have been, all the places where I'm failing and all my fears and all my traumas and all my everything, instead of
Yes. Long
those
list of things.
yeah, I call it BS, blankets of
Yes.
shame, but
Blanket
blankets
of
of
shame.
shame
I
because
love that.
it's like you're under this blanket of shame. And so like by the time you take off the 10 blankets,
Yeah.
you're exhausted and you have no more energy left to get your work done.
Yeah.
So in that example I just shared, I only had like one. It was like a light sheet. I had a light sheet of shame. Took it off and I still had energy for the day and I had a whole full productive good day.
Yeah.
Now years ago, it would have been 10 heavy duvets. Man, if I got out from under those by 4 o'clock, I was lucky because there was just
Mhm.
so much shit to deal with. Um, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a really great point. I love those points. It's interesting because yeah, because when we feel like we're also like expanding into a bigger space, like getting into a bigger audience, for instance, right, of the work that you're doing, I feel like a lot of that will start to kick in. Some of
Mm,
that the inner critic might start getting more active because there's an aspect, inside of because we all have like different layers of different like residue, I would say, of some of the trauma. Doesn't mean that, you haven't worked on it, but I think it just goes by cycles, especially when you're expanding, when you're getting bigger, when you have more eyes on you, you know? And so I feel like there's different layers of that from the 8 pillars. So at least from my personal experience, I've noticed that because I've been like expanding like in different ways or, trying to get into like a different getting more into different podcasts and bigger podcasts. I sometimes will hear that, inner critic come
mm,
in and but I'm starting, I think the more that we work on ourselves, like do like shadow works, what I call it, the more that we're able to recognize it much faster. It's like what you said, right? The intensity of it, depending on the level of intensity that it wants to come up. Where, before it would have taken me like probably days or months to like get through it. Now it's taking me like a little faster to recognize it. Um,
mm.
so did you get into the number five, six, seven, and eight? Or
No, not yet.
oh,
So five,
I
we
was
got
like,
on
did
the
I
other side.
miss it? I was like,
Nope. So feeling like a fraud, and then once you stick around there for a little while, then you start playing small. Um, and playing small could be things like avoiding going on podcasts, not raising your rates, um, not putting in the work in areas of your business that you know will lead to much greater growth. So you keep doing the stuff you've always done, but you don't hire someone for that key part of your business, or you don't, there's a lot of ways that playing small can show up. After playing small that was number five. Number, oh, geez, here I did it again. Well, let's skip one and we'll
but I
go
have a little
as
cheat
a,
sheet on it.
well, I should have had that up, but and my computer's not being nice and showing me my I usually have my cheat sheet that's right there, but it's not finding it for me. But let me just go to my document. 8 pillars. So there's people pleasing. Where I'm going to skip one and we'll come
Oh,
back to it, but
nice.
people pleasing and
Nice.
overgiving is what I call the helper's paradox.
Mm.
And that's the biggest one of them all. So if I don't get to six and I don't get to eight, it's okay because this one's even more important. But I did find them. I looked them up. So it's not owning your expertise and crappy boundaries. So we can get to those as well.
Oh,
But the
yes.
helper's paradox is people pleasing and overgiving. So I have this metaphor, this little story that I share because I've had many healers that will come to me, and some of these are healers that earn over 200,000 in a year. One of them was not a healer but an executive coach who works with big clients. She's a much better developed business than I'll ever have. Well, not ever, but that I currently have. Um, and even she struggles with the helper's paradox. So I want to share this little metaphor so that anyone who thinks, "Oh, I don't do overgiving or I don't do people pleasing," I just want to see if they can hear themselves in this little story. So imagine that you're walking down the street and you see a house and it's a gorgeous house and it's got a for sale sign on it and you think, "Oh my gosh, this might be my dream house." and you see over the fence, and there's this wonderful party happening by the pool, or if you don't like pools, it's a garden, whatever your perfect setting is, and it's your dream business. It's your ideal healing practice. It's got three clients, it's got 300. It's whatever your perfect number is. They pay your ideal rates. You have, it's amazing. It's your ideal schedule, all of that. And you say, well, I really got to get there. So you go around to the front of the house and you go to the front door and you're about to open the front door. And excuse me, the first of the eight pillars of the imposter complex smacks you in the face. It's procrastination. You go, geez, I don't know. But oh man. And you get this sense because you're an intuitive healer type that if you open this door and if you walk through that house, you're going to have to deal with all eight pillars in succession: procrastination, overwhelm, inner critic, feeling like a fraud, and in your language, your shadow work, you're trying, like, it's all there. And you've got to walk through all, you don't have to heal all of it, but you have to at least walk through all of it bravely to get to the back of the house where your ideal business is. So that's a lot for anyone. That's heavy.
Yeah.
And you notice out of the corner of your eye, down on the street, there's this sign, and the sign says, "Help needed." And there's three or four people hanging out under the sign, and they're looking around like they need some help. And the wonderful, empathetic person that you are, you say, "Well, I mean, those people need some help. I don't know what it is, but they clearly need some help. So don't worry, I'm gonna come back to this ideal business and all the stuff that I'll come back. Don't worry, I'll come back. I'm just gonna go help some people." So you walk over, you find out what the first person needs. They need directions. You find out what the second person needs. They all need help of various kinds. And so you help them all. And then before you know it, oh gosh, it's evening. You're tired. You've been helping people, and you go, "Wow, I don't have the energy to go through that house." So, but I'll come back tomorrow. I'll come back tomorrow. So tomorrow comes. You come back. You come into the house. You're about to go in, like, "Oh God," and then you see underneath that help needed sign, now there's like 20 people, because those three or four people told all their friends that if they just hang out under this sign, some lovely person's going to come along and help them with whatever they need. So you say,
Yeah.
well,
For
I can't go
free.
through. Yeah, for free and for exactly for free. So I can't go through this house. All those people need me. It would be kind of selfish of me and really not, I wouldn't be a very good person if I didn't go help at least some of those people. So the cycle continues and it goes on for days or weeks or however long it does. And before you know it, you are living your life helping. You're doing free sessions all the time without getting paid, without a clear strategy to help
Hmm.
convert those free sessions into meaningful clients. You are on all the social media platforms doing all the posting that you should be doing that frankly you don't have to do if you don't want to. Um, you're doing all the things that you should be doing. You're helping all the people. You'll help a friend move 3 times in a year, but you won't put in an application for that podcast that you have a really amazing feeling about, but it scares the crap out of you.
Hmm.
So all
Yeah.
of that I call the helper's paradox. And that's why it's part of the imposter complex in my model,
Hmm.
because it's part of what keeps this insidious doubt and fear in place. And that's also why I make it 8 distinct parts, so that instead of us saying, well, you just don't believe in yourself, or it's the imposter it's like, no, no, no. Which
No, it's
part
more
of
of that.
it? Are you
Hmm.
procrastinating? Are you overwhelmed? Are you playing small? Are you not practicing good boundaries? There's a whole bunch to it. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a really great metaphor story.
Yeah.
Very
I was very,
captivating too. I mean, but it gets to the point of
yeah.
everything that you just shared about the eight pillars. I mean, there's a lot to unpack from that. And, and I know I've been there, even before like I launched my business, I was very much an overgiver. People would naturally come to me and confess all their stuff to me and like be like a natural like counselor, I would say. It's
Hmm.
almost like I wore this collar of priestly, like confessions with Monica
Uh-huh.
or something. And it just hit me one day. I was like, wait a minute, why is it that people are just like pouring all their secrets to me, like sharing their traumas and all this other stuff? And it's like, I have been doing this my whole life, and I didn't realize I was
Hmm.
doing it. And I wasn't charging, I was doing it for free, And
Yeah.
then you get to the point of like being overburned, like the energy drain, like you're saying. And then you set aside the things that you're really called to do in purpose and your mission, and you put it aside because you want to go please other people and by
Hmm.
helping them for free and overgiving. And so then those are the boundary leaks. No set structure of boundaries in place.
Yeah.
So yeah, I hear you, my friend. That's where I've been to. Like,
Hmm. Yeah, and for any healers that are listening and you're at that place where you've been doing your work for a while, but you're not making the income that you want to make. The helper's paradox for me and for most of my clients is the place to look. When I identified that, because it goes in layers. There's the worst, the deepest layer is trying to save. And that's where I spent a lot of my life, believing that it was my job to save people. Up from there is fixing, when we know what's best. And I
hmm
spent the first years of my energy healing practice knowing, believing that I knew what was best, waiting for clients to finish their sentences so that I could tell them what they really needed to do because I was going to fix them.
mm,
And the layer up from that, which is not as bad, is helping your friend move, helping your kids with their homework when really you should be working on your business because your kids are fine, actually, as one
hmm
of many examples. So yeah, it goes in those layers or levels. So it just depends on how deep down you are. But when I recognized that I was spending all my time with my potential clients trying to fix them, and I wasn't okay with them screwing up their own lives, I wasn't okay to just leave them in their mess. When I recognized that and I started becoming okay with that, clients started signing up. They started paying me
mm,
money, and then they started paying me more money, and things started to flow because I know my need to help was no longer the biggest thing in the room. But as long as my need to help was the biggest thing in the room, they
hmm
had no freedom to sign up and become clients. So anyone
Yeah.
listening, take a real hard look if that's there for you, because if it is, that's what's blocking the prosperity, that's what's blocking the clients and the business growth.
Hmm. Yes, very much. It's a lot, leak, as I would call it, through the chakras, also like the root
Hmm.
chakra, which is our stability and foundation. So if you have those leaks and stuff, that's something to pay attention to that. But yeah, this is a very important message for so many of the sensitive, highly sensitive healers out there and empaths. To really get with Will. And so we're just, going to be wrapping it up before we get into like your final thoughts, and maybe you could share some of your clear audience and what you want to, if you hear anything that you want to share with the audience.
Mm.
Just want to say to those listening that you could find all of Will's contact information in the show notes, his website and his way of, his email address as well. If you want to book a free session with him, I think you offer free
Hmm.
sessions.
Yeah.
And well, I guess for discovery, not necessarily like free, like but yeah, so if there's anything you want to share as a final thoughts or anything else you want to tell others, about ways to get in touch with you
Yeah.
or what you do or any classes you have coming up.
Yeah, sure. Well, it is actually a free session. So it's a free 25-minute session called Clear What's in the Way. And I make it free on purpose because it's my favorite way to connect with new people. And then if it's a fit, we'll talk for a minute or two at the end to see if it's a fit to work together as a client. And if it's not a fit, then it's not a fit, and that's totally fine. I also have a signature workshop called Safe to Be Seen, and I do that usually once a month, sometimes once a quarter, so people can check out my website for when the next one's coming up. And it's a full hour-long deep dive on some of the things that we've talked about here and more. And there's also time for on the spot energy shifting work at the end of that. So I do specific belief clearing with people in both those settings, in the private, in the free session, and on the workshop as well. And actually, that was the thought that I had here at the beginning for kind of closing thoughts, is I'd love to offer up a few belief clearings for people that are listening to see if people want to give it a try and see if they can shift themselves as they listen to the podcast.
Yeah, whatever you want to offer.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So the format that I do is I phrase it as a question. So it goes like this. The belief that fill in the blank, would you be willing to destroy that at the point of creation? And I know we want to wrap up, so I'm not going to go into more detail, but people can find out more on YouTube, et cetera, and a full explanation of what the heck it means. For now, just for people listening, try and give it a yes or a no. So when I ask the belief shifting question, see if you can be a yes. And if you're not a yes, that's okay. But it's interesting information to say, well, what in me wants to hold on to that? Where does that keep me safe? So it's not necessarily about clearing the belief. It's about gaining the energetic awareness to see when are you telling the truth to yourself and when are you actually lying to yourself. Because anywhere that we're stuck, I have found we're actually just not telling the truth to ourselves.
Mm,
So we'll just do a couple here. I have some notes from some of the most common ones that come up and do two or three and
yeah.
see how it goes. Sound good?
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So the first one for everyone listening. Whew, uh, yeah, that's and what happens to my body with energy. So, first one, the belief that you should be farther along. Would you be willing to destroy that belief at the point of creation?
Mm.
Okay, where's another good one? Ooh, this one's good for anyone starting out. The belief that it's not right to charge money for healing work.
Oh my
Would you
goodness.
would you be willing to destroy that at the point of creation?
Perfect one.
Okay, one more. Uh, oh, this is a fun one. The belief that if you were really meant to have success as a healer, if you were really meant to make more money, if you're really meant to do this, then it wouldn't be so hard. Would you be willing to destroy that belief at the point of creation? Yeah, I like that last one because so many of us healers, we take all the wrong lessons from all the right places. Like, oh, well, if it's not perfect synchronicity and ease and flow with all the things that I need showing up effortlessly, then that means I'm on the wrong path. No, no one ever said that. That's
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, you're right.
But we do that, and I've fallen into that trap many times. I go, "Oh, it's not happening easily. That means it's wrong." Well, not necessarily. Maybe you have a belief that's going on, or maybe you're in the imposter complex, or
It's a good
maybe,
point.
yeah,
And
yeah,
it's good to explore that and really ask yourself honestly, what is it, tied to? Like,
hmm,
um, I loved all of these questions actually, especially the second one because that's a very common theme is like if you're gonna be a spiritual healer, energy healer, why are you charging? They must be a fraud or something like that. But there's also
hmm,
that belief that's inside of us that we may have picked up as well that is
yeah,
like a pattern, like a broken record that's somewhere in the layers, the subconscious
yeah,
that I feel is also there, in a way. But
yeah.
yeah, so that's something that I don't know how long it'll take before we could break that cycle where
Well, I don't necessarily think we have to break the cycle. What I'm most interested in is helping healers to break it for themselves,
hmm
because I can't remember the last time that someone got cross with me or mad at me for charging work for healing work. It
hmm
used to happen a lot.
the beginning, right?
Yeah. And then I
Yeah.
shifted the beliefs. I cleared the beliefs with
Mhm.
the help of my energy guy. And then
Good
those
point.
people stopped showing up.
hmm
Or I would sense them as they were putting in their application. And I go, I don't want to have anything to do with that.
Yeah.
And I would just
See?
let them pass by.
Yeah.
So I don't think that we need to shift it as a society. I think we need to choose for ourselves if we want that reality anymore. So
hmm
I hope that offering that belief clearing might help a few people move in that
Yes.
direction and that they keep listening to your podcast and keep moving in that direction because it doesn't have to be your reality. You can
Yeah.
charge really good money for healing work. Doctors get
Exactly.
paid, ministers and priests get paid,
Yep.
um, healers get paid, and it's good.
Mhm. Yep. That's
Yeah.
right. And
Yeah.
I appreciate you sharing that, with us. And I would love to hear from the audience and write your comments and let us know, what these questions did for you and how, if you felt the shift in the energy. But I sensed, that somebody listening is really receiving this content, this energy, from you. Were there any other thoughts, Will, before we close? Any final thoughts?
No, we covered a lot in a short time. Thank you so much for the chance to share some of this. And yeah, I hope some of those belief shiftings can help. And I really hope that that story about the helper's, I call it the helper's house, the helper's paradox. I hope that
Yeah.
landed for a few people to help bring some awareness.
Yeah, and I sense that it is landing for people, those who are listening to this. I know we're recording this, but I could already feel the energy of the people who are receiving it. So yeah, so there's definitely a lot to unpack here in this episode. So please, go back and re-listen to it again because there's a lot of keynotes that were shared here, and I really appreciate you, Will, for sharing all of this with us. I think it's a very important thing to really have these talks, healthy talks, I would say, for many highly sensitive healers out there or empaths or, and if you're really feeling that nudge, of like doing something different, moving into like doing your own business, because right now that's really what's coming up a lot because with all the market change, with jobs and careers and all this other stuff, people really reconsidering they're going to do their own business. And I know there's a lot more healers coming online. Um, I would say coming online being like into their true authenticity of their soul and their gifts are just like bursting open, and talents and having these intuitive insights. And so this is, the place for you to really come hang out with Will and hang out, get some of his support as well, to what he's sharing. A lot of, great insights. So thank you, Will.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Right. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to click like, save, and share with others so they can also experience what you just experienced. And stay tuned for some more high vibe episodes. And I'll be connecting with you in the next quantum field. Sending you so much love.